Hi, I'm attorney Eric Lewis with Lewis Legal Services in Indianapolis. Today I have an update with the new national means test numbers recently released by the Department of Justice that go into effect on November 1st, 2024. The means test is used in bankruptcy to determine eligibility for Chapter 7 cases where the majority of the debt is consumer debt as opposed to business debt or non-consumer debts. In a Chapter 13 case, the numbers are used in part to determine how much you're expected to pay back on your debts in your repayment plan. In Chapter 7 cases in which the majority of the debt is consumer debt, it also helps determine eligibility based on your current monthly income and your expenses and comparing those with the state average family income values for your particular state and how that varies by household size. In Chapter 13 cases, it also helps determine what we call the commitment period, whether your case is a 3-year repayment, which is 36 months in duration, or a 5-year commitment, a 60-month repayment plan. And it also determines how much you can reasonably pay back on your debts in a determination of disposable income. I've linked below where you can find these numbers, not only for Indiana specifically, but for all states and jurisdictions. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at these changes.
So, effective November 1st, 2024, for consumer bankruptcy cases, these are the new numbers. The last time these numbers were revised back in April, we were happy to see that they were up from the previous adjustment in November of 2023, which saw a rare downward adjustment across the board. Now, these changes aren't huge, but for some people, they'll make the difference between qualifying for a Chapter 7 or having to do some type of repayment plan in a Chapter 13. The changes are somewhat interesting this time around because while the median income cutoff for a single person increased marginally, the number for a household of 2, such as a married couple with no children or a single parent with a kid, went down by almost $1,000. It's perplexing to see this, especially since the numbers for a household size of 3 or more had a significant increase. So if you're new to this, the way it works is if you're an individual filing bankruptcy and your debts are primarily consumer debts and no applicable exception to means testing applies to you, such as service in the military, for example, then you have to take a means test analysis. The means test looks at your income for the 6 calendar months prior to the calendar month in which you file your bankruptcy case. And when we average that income and annualize it, the question becomes, where does that average put you in relation to these cutoff numbers? If your average is below these numbers, then there's no further analysis in terms of means testing. If your average is above these numbers, then further means testing is required to look at your specific expenses and judge your ability to pay your debt back, even if it's just in part, which is a Chapter 13 plan. On the expense side of the analysis, the means test uses certain standardized numbers that we call the National Living Allowance, which is based on your household size. And there are other expenses, of course, that you can take in a means test for a Chapter 7 or a determination of disposable income in a Chapter 13. Numbers that are unique to you, such as a certain amount of what you do for charitable contributions, retirement contributions, what you pay for life insurance or health insurance. But some of these numbers, as you can see here, are set by law. And there can be some deviation for necessary expenses, but this is basically the expectation based on the household size. And these numbers apply to all consumer bankruptcy cases, not just cases in Indiana. So for means test analysis for eligibility, determination of disposable income in Chapter 13, or just the general reasonableness of your budget on Schedule J to your bankruptcy paperwork, the court looks at these numbers as a guide, basically to help determine if your deductions from income are both reasonable and necessary. And here, although the Department of Justice revised the median income numbers just recently, obviously going into effect on November 1st, the means test numbers for typical household expenses are not changing at this time and will remain the same numbers that went into effect earlier this year back in May.
I hope you found this video helpful. That's it for today. If you have any questions, please contact my office. If you want to stay up to date on developments in bankruptcy law and other related things, please click subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching.